everybody. How you doing? Jer stays here with your live stream, doing the State of the City Watch Party, something we've never done before, but we're going to do it in front of you all. In fact, well, we've done a lot of these. Norris Howard, how are you?
Oh, man, I'm feeling great. Once again, we back in the studio for another lengthy live stream here to share more information with the people of Metro Detroit.
Yes, yes. I was thinking about it. I have been watching, I mean, I even saw them in my periphery when I was younger, but I think about the first State of the City speeches that I remember are Dennis Archer, 1999.
That was a long time ago.
I was working for WDIV at the time as a floor manager.
It's wild to think that, the Archer administration is now almost 30 years ago.
It's wild.
Yeah, when you think about it.
He's still around, you know.
Yeah, I know.
And
him and JR.
That's JR. Referring to, of course, his son, who is a entrepreneur.
Esquire.
Power broker, I would say.
Yeah, entrepreneur. Yeah. Nah, I mean, listen, it's very cool and very interesting to sort of get these State of the City addresses because for me, the one that stands out for me is I remember Mike Duggan's State of the City. I believe it was 2013 or 14. It was one of those ones where it was like the first one where the city had posted like positive budget, crime had gone down, and so on and so forth. And it was put there in black and white like, oh, things are changing. This is interesting. And you had to just absorb that information. I think Duggan has been really good on this State of the City. So I'm very interested to see just how Mary Sheffield takes her approach to that.
She's got camera skills.
Oh, we know.
You know
that.
what I mean? She knows how to do this. I'm actually kind of excited to see what this is going to look like, what this vision is going to be, what we're thinking about. If you're not familiar with what a State of the City is, we should talk to people. Yeah. One of the things I've realized, even talking to some of my neighbors.
Yeah. So a State of the City is essentially, just how you have State of the Union, which is the president's sort of yearly address to the country on what is going to be our agenda for the following year, what have been some of the wins that we've had over the previous year, And then also highlighting some good stories. That is a thing that has become part of a State of the Union. And now that has extended to States of the State. Gretchen Whitmer just had hers last week. And we are also going to be having now State of the City, which Mary Sheffield will now be having her first inaugural State of the City. And this is also a historic event because, again, this is the first time a woman will be giving State of the City, as she is Detroit's first female mayor.
And so people know this is not happening downtown. This is happening over at Mumford High School.
My mom's alma mater.
It's your alma mater?
Yes, my mama alma mater.
Alma mater.
Yeah. Word to the Mustangs over there.
North of 6 Mile, west of Wyoming.
Yeah,
I want to say.
We say Curtis in Wyoming.
Oh yeah,
Curtis.
See,
in
I
Wyoming.
should say over by Thatcher.
Yeah.
Because Thatcher, Curtis, that whole thing.
Yep.
Because those streets go through the entire west side and.
Yep.
Yeah, through the entire west side. That short amount of time that I lived west of Woodward.
Yeah, man. See, that's what I used to love about. That's what I love about the west side is that the streets are pretty much continuous, north, south, east, and west. They don't really break off. Like Schoolcraft stops at Ewall Circle, which is the street I was raised on. But other than that, all the rest of the east-west thoroughfares go the whole way.
See, on the east side, because the river, there's the bends.
Yeah, they been, and then the northeast side is Cricket.
True.
Compared to the rest of the city is Cricket.
Well, then some streets just kind of end. Other streets end up going completely different directions. Like back in the day on the east side, I remember Beaconsfield going from the Grosse Points through the east side, and then it like bends up towards Harper Woods, towards Eastland Mall.
Yeah.
It actually hits like near 8 Mile.
Yeah, weird. East side's weird.
But you know what? That gives it character, I think.
If that's what y'all say, you east side, that's what y'all east siders always say. We just call it confusing.
Well, thank everyone who's in the chat. I really appreciate you. I see Stina there. She asked a question I actually answered by text. How long is her speech expected to be? My experience is that these usually run about an hour, but this is her first one. So who knows, right? Will she break from that other tradition? These are all questions I think that are part of the fun of doing this. So what we're going to do is kind of have our pregame analysis a little bit. We may pop in during the thing if we've got reaction points to something.
Yeah, if something crazy happens.
You know, or if there's something specifically we want to call out during an applause line. But we're going to try to basically lay back a little bit. And then afterward, we will be doing analysis. Joining us will be civic life reporter for Outlier Media, Briana Rice.
All right, that's right.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. New voice on the show.
And on top of that, just another collaboration with our good friends at Outlier, who do incredible work across the city of Detroit, a lot of hard-hitting journalism, and so I'm excited to have her on the show with us.
For sure. You know, the stuff that they did around those cryptocurrency real estate guys,
that
a wild story, and that went national, by the way.
That to me is like Emmy-winning story stuff, man, because you were talking about a deep level municipal level, even though the city didn't do it, but I'm talking about in terms of the scope. You were talking about a citywide grift, just a citywide absolute grift, just hustling people and making them think that they were going to be living in these homes. And I mean, it's just 21st century slumlording, man. And that's basically what it became.
Well, the city's coming down on them pretty hard
about
this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And it's gone national. I saw it in Wired magazine, which was pretty cool. We had Aaron Mondry actually on the show to give us the details about it. It's interesting to see also, yes, there is, of course, the residence issue and the lack of maintenance for the properties. But then also there's like the investor issue. You know what I mean? All those people throwing in their money for this kind of thing.
Yeah, you know, it's weird from multiple levels, but I think the big thing and the part that stuck out to me was the fact that the city was like, wait a minute, what do you mean there's no way for us to find out who owns these properties? That in and of itself, again, I've come down hard in my own personal life about what I think are some of the pitfalls of cryptocurrency, and this is one of them. Now, you know, up until deep investigations, it was impossible for people to realize what was going on, you know, with who owned these homes. Now they're finding out. And, you know, that was the heartening part for me, because we've seen this story before where nobody gets held responsible for purposefully blighting a neighborhood or multiple neighborhoods, which is what happened here.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild and great reporting, and I'm really glad that they are there. And I'm really glad that Briana Rice will be joining us. We've got some people in the chat. Bat D2, hello. Outlier, probably my favorite media org in Detroit right now. What about it? I appreciate you, Bat. Appreciate your honesty.
How dare you come on our chat and say that somebody else is your favorite? Nah, I'm calling that out. Imagine you going to your partner's house and say, oh, my ex was my favorite relationship I ever been in. That just had such a great time, and it didn't work out. But that was my favorite. I've had that conversation before.
Yeah, it's not a good one.
No, it's not. To me, if you had that conversation with me, that's the last conversation we have.
I mean, that's not. We welcome you, Bat D2. It's just hilarious. That's very funny. I appreciate you. They do great.
They do great reporting.
They do great reporting, and I think we do sort of different things too. Right, like we serve more of a metro audience.
Nah, my ego ain't letting that slide.
You've hurt Norris's heart, Bat D2.
You didn't hurt my heart. Now you just began a campaign of vengeance.
I don't even want to know.
That's all right.
I don't even want to know.
That's all right.
Designer Guy 235. I would love to see an announcement that the CPA building is getting redeveloped.
So you're not gonna get that announcement.
I mean, I would love to. So actually, I would. That is an interesting series of things because there's a new art project going on, the windows of that thing that we talked about on Daily Detroit on our newsletter. That whole block is underutilized. I remember when that building was active, and I remember when it was a bank.
Yep.
I remember all that, but that whole block is underutilized over there. I think there's one owner. I remember they put out an RFP, a request for proposals, a few years ago, and they limited the people who could respond to the RFP to auto companies. It was ridiculous.
I can't see. This is the type of stuff. Now, on that train of thought, this is the stuff that I actually want the mayor to address. I want the mayor to begin addressing foolishness like that in the red tape when it comes to people who want to start businesses, purchase buildings, refurbish buildings, rehab buildings. Make this easy for people, because right now, like, in what world should that be allowed?
Well, we talked with Fred Durhal, who was running for mayor, now is part of the administration. Yep. We caught up a little bit about the pilot program, which is trying to reduce some of that stuff, but it'd be very good to focus on it. I know I'm not going to get what I want out of it, or I don't feel like I'll get what I want out of it. I would like to see a comprehensive transit vision.
Yeah, you shooting for the moon with that one.
I know Transit Writers United was really pushing for more funding and all that other kind of. I guess maybe I'm salty about it because I did take 2 buses to get here, and not a one was on time.
Yeah, and listen, do I wish that we be getting a comprehensive transit plan? Yes, but I also understand that comes with copious amounts of billions and billions of dollars of investment that I haven't heard rumblings about. And
timing, right?
Yeah.
So this is something that might come down the line because we've got that big smart push happening in Wayne County.
Yep.
There's going to be a big millage that's going to be happening during the primary ballot, I want to say, around getting smart across Wayne County as like a first piece. And Detroit's involved in that in some way. So that's going to be
absolutely
very interesting. Bad D2, still mad at you. I'm hoping to hear about immigration, housing, and education, and very curious to hear anything about Duggan if she mentions him.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, listen, I don't think you'll hear anything outside of thank you, former mayor, thank you to my predecessor. We've been put into an advantageous position because of his work. Like, I think you'll get that. Beyond that,
it might be different if he wasn't running for governor.
Yeah, you probably won't get much more. I think anything more than that becomes like, it starts to sound like an endorsement, and I think that's very, you have to be pretty careful with that kind of stuff, even though Mayor Duggan endorsed her, so I do anticipate that she will return that endorsement, but I don't think this is the place for that now. This is her moment. It's her first state of the city. The focus is going to be on the city.
Housing, I think, is a big thing.
Yeah.
And we're actually doing a series of reports on housing on Daily Detroit. I've got some great conversations booked around the challenges, the programs that are working, the programs that aren't, how we could get more affordable housing into the city, how to get more naturally affordable housing into the city.
Yeah.
And some of the challenges that are happening out there on the ground. I've got both perspectives from housing advocates and then also some developers that are willing to come on exclusively to Daily Detroit and really kind of open the books a little bit, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, because, only here on Daily Detroit will you get the true lowdown on what's going on with some of these developments. And, speaking about that, I was actually just driving up there on, was that MLK and 14th around there in North Corktown and seeing some developments happening over there. Very interested to see, North Corktown is sort of the next big area.
I saw a bunch of new stuff happening over by the Woodbridge neighborhood. Also, education will be interesting about that is how does she intend to work with the district? How will she approach it, right? And because I think because of her who she is, she'll be able to attack some of those issues in a different way than Mike Duggan could.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? She's going to be able to approach it in a different way, even though obviously there's no takeover of the schools coming or whatever.
Absolutely not.
But it's going to be interesting how that works. Stina says that Duggan is attending tonight.
Yeah, and that's why I think she'll go out of her way to thank Mike Duggan. I think it'll be important for her to acknowledge what he's done and the work that he's done and sort of their connections as people who really, because when you think about it, Mike Duggan has only had a couple years with her not on city council. That's kind of a crazy thing to think about. She was one of the youngest, if not the youngest person on city council in history. And so I think she'll take some time to recognize that he's there. But even if she doesn't, it won't be a big endorsement. But I'm looking forward. I would say the big thing that I'm looking forward to is how does she address one of the big elephants in the room, which is the city's progress with no help from the federal government.
Yeah.
This is going to be a huge thing that cities across the country are having to deal with and reckon with. Detroit is going to be, if not the one of the hardest hit if we're thrown headlong into an official recession. We know costs are up. We know gas prices are up. If there's a conversation to be had about that, this would be the time to do it. And also, if there's a conversation to be had on the city's official stance on ICE, this will also be the place to do it. Do I think she'll do that? No. But if she does have a statement on that, this will be the time to do it.
Yeah, I had a number of advocates talk to me about the idea of moving Detroit from a welcoming city to a sanctuary city. I don't know if sanctuary, this is my opinion, I don't know if sanctuary city's in the cards for the city of Detroit.
I don't think that'll happen, but I think the biggest thing she could do is to bar ICE from being able to use city property during operations, which, is a thing. They can still operate out of the McNamara building over there on Michigan Avenue, but that is something that was done in Chicago. With the mayor of Chicago, and it'll be interesting to see if that's something that Mayor Sheffield plans to explore.
Yeah, we're about 3 minutes from the official, start time that we have. I'm keeping my eye on the stream. Oh, we've got, you know what? I see people coming on stage now, so I think maybe we should switch over.
Yeah,
to
let's switch the visuals over.
And we'll mostly stay in the text chat, and then we will pop in if there's something we need to say or something, but we'll save a lot of our analysis and making notes for the
debrief.
For the debrief.
All right, enjoy the state of the city, everybody.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you all hear me? Good evening, Detroit. Such an honor to be here. Before we get started tonight, I want to start off by recognizing a few people, and I want to start with my family. Some of the strongest women that I know are the women in my family, and I want to honor and recognize my aunt who is here today, breast cancer survivor, my godmother Brenda. My bonus mother is here as well, too. And my soon-to-be 89-year-old grandmother is here. Yes. Yep. I also, of course, want to recognize my incredible husband, the first gentleman of the city of Detroit. you for grounding me and strengthening me. I definitely appreciate all of you all's support and love. I also want to recognize the incredible men and women of this administration, my cabinet. So many people have our ability to hit the ground and run it, and it would not be possible without the men and women of this administration. So can we give them another round of applause? Thank you. I continue to be inspired by their dedication, brilliance, and it is an honor to work with each of them. I do want to quickly recognize, and they don't know this, but my Deputy Mayor, Brian White, also my chief, David Bowser. Both of them have me this entire journey and tremendously not be here without you. To the Honorable City Council, I recognize, but again, I want to thank the Honorable City Council. I recognize, but again, I want to thank your partner. It has been a tradition for the council and the mayor. And to our Detroit Board of Police Commissioners who are here today, Detroit Board of Police Commissioners, thank you all for your service and dedication to public safety. And of course, Madam Clerk, we appreciate your service to our city and looking forward to the partnership as well. Let's give it up to Madam Clerk. And from my understanding, our Tri-County executives are here today. Thank you all so much for being here. Warren Evans, Mark Hackle, and David Coulter, it is an honor to have you all here today. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity of sitting on a panel with them and to talk about the importance of regionalism in our city and moving Detroit forward. And so it's good to have us working together because we know what impacts Detroit impacts the entire region. And so it's great to have you all here to help move our city and our county forward. So we can now get started.
Mary Sheffield is from Detroit, West Side. She grew up in the joy of this city and felt the weight of it too. At 26, she understood something. Policy is personal. Think about it. Policy is a grocery store in a neighborhood someone said didn't deserve one. In 324 years, 75 mayors stood in the office. Not one was a woman.
The breaking news of the last hour has been City Council President Mary Sheffield is the projected winner in the race for mayor of Detroit.
Mary, you won the biggest margin ever in the history of the nation. The biggest margin. Big show.
This is the fruit of all the hard work leading up to your campaign to win this by a landslide. You put in the work, so enjoy tonight and just live in the moment. You made history. You're in the history book.
And a historic night in Detroit.
Voters are rewarding City Council President Mary Sheffield and electing her as the first woman to lead the city.
Oh, thank you, Heavenly Father.
On November 4th, 2025, with 77% of the vote, Detroit made history.
It's been a little more than a week since Mary Sheffield was elected as Detroit's next mayor. And the transition team has hit the ground running.
The election was over. The work was not. A transition team that didn't waste a day, setting the table before she ever sat down.
This morning, Mary Sheffield was sworn in as Detroit's mayor, and her first day on the job was a busy one. The city's 76th mayor spent her first few hours in first responder at the department. Her campaign promise. Mayor Sheffield stopped by the Cabbage and Soup Kitchen.
We are grateful that our mayor is part of our story. First day.
Serving the people of Detroit.
Day one, she the home of Pershing School, a senior center where the stories run deep. This from Detroit was waiting to be heard, and she came ready to listen.
Hello, Detroit. I am Mary Sheffield. I will listen, we will love, and help the city shine.
That's what this city deserves to keep. Detroit, It's true that Detroit was never just one thing. It never will be. The river and the block, the crane rising in New Center, and the street lights coming on. The people who just arrived and the Detroiters who never left. This city holds all of it. This city holds all of us. The world is watching Detroit, not because of what we survived, but because of what we're building. The investment is real. The partners are serious. Momentum belongs to this whole city. And the administration is to make sure every Detroiter doesn't just put pills in on their block, in their lives. That is the work. That is the promise. Rise higher, Detroit.
To those who are here this evening and those who are watching at home, it is an honor to stand before you tonight as the 76th and first woman mayor of the great city of Detroit. And hopefully my election won't be the only historic first the city will be seeing soon. Go Lions! So many great venues where I could have delivered my very first State of the City speech. But tonight, I am speaking to you from what I consider to be the heart of this great city, our neighborhoods. I chose the famed and historic Mumford High School because it is a neighborhood school that has been a pillar of this community in Northwest Detroit. In many ways, Mumford's story mirrors Detroit's, the highs of prominence and the lows of decline, but both are in a state of resurgence with its best days still ahead. We are broadcasting tonight from the Jamil Hill Auditorium, and it is my esteemed honor that its benefactor, award-winning journalist, and Mumford alum is in attendance this evening. Jamil, if you can please stand. Yes. Thank you so much for being here. Jamil Hill, though, is not the only amazing Detroiter that went on to do great things. The Clark sisters, Carmen Harlan, the legendary Carmen Harlan, if you can please stand and be recognized, Carmen Harlan. Thank you. Stephen Ross, Jerry Bruckheimer, just to name a few. And tonight, seated in the front row is a gentleman named Jacob. He is poised to join the ranks of these incredible Mumford alumni. I recently met Jacob when I toured Dotson Elementary and Middle School. He was so friendly and bright. And when he told me that he was attending Mumford this fall, I wanted Jacob to feel proud. So Jacob, I hope you're excited to start school this fall, and just know you've got your mayor and the entire city cheering for you. There's Jacob right there. Yes, Jacob. I am excited to have a conversation with you all about our beloved city. And I am here to say that the state of Detroit is rising higher. It's rising higher. The central theme of tonight's speech, my transition in my soon first 100 days, has been leading through the voice of the people. After the election, we launched the most inclusive and collaborative transition effort the city has ever seen. 18 committees, over 300 community leaders who helped set and shape our priorities. Many of them are here tonight, so thank you all for your service and dedication to our city. After being sworn in on January 1st, we got to work. My first order of business was to invest in our babies and our families by bringing RX Kids to Detroit. Pregnancy should not mean poverty, but all too often it does. Detroit is now the largest city to participate in its first of its kind cash assistance program to support maternal and infant health. To date, we have approved over 1,200 applications and paid out over $1.6 million to Detroit. I would like to thank Councilmember Calloway for her advocacy in support to bring this program to Detroit. Every single Detroit baby and mother and family that is eligible will receive a $1,500 cash prescription during pregnancy, followed by $500 per month throughout the baby's first 6 months of life. No strings attached.
I learned about the RX Kids program. It helped me cover a couple bills that were behind. It helped me pay for some stuff that the kids wanted. I have been advocating for the programs. I know what it's like to be a mother with no help. I do like that RX Kids does include our men in the community because they are forgotten about. There are times where pregnancy might not go how you plan, because I know for me, I wanted to work my whole pregnancy, but I had high blood pressure and I couldn't do so. Even though I was discouraged not having an income of my own, later on, RX Kids stepped in and they put that excitement back in my life.
As if bringing RX Kids to Detroit wasn't enough, I recruited and appointed the program's co-founder and founder of U of M's Poverty Solutions, Dr. Luke Schaefer. He is now serving as Detroit's first ever Chief of Health, Human, and Poverty Solutions. Dr. Luke is charged with implementing a citywide poverty elimination strategy throughout city government. We have also proposed a new department of human, homeless, and family services. This will provide quality of life and wraparound services to our most vulnerable residents, moving them from homelessness to homeownership. And as a part of this wraparound approach, I believe that we must center our youth in order for our city to reach its full potential, which is why we created a senior youth and education team led by Dr. Chanel Hampton and Jawan Howard. To ensure that youth voices are centered in all city policies. Make no mistakes, young people are at the table. Our future depends on it. And while the mayor does not control the school system, we are an important strategic partner. We are actively collaborating with DPSCD and charter schools to address absenteeism, after-school programming, and transportation. Tonight, I am excited to announce our new Show Your ID Ride for Free program. Starting tomorrow, April 1st, any K-12 student in the city can ride the bus for free 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Yes. So thank you, City Council. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. We've also reached an agreement in principle with the board and the superintendent so that the money currently on bus fare for students will now go towards much needed after-school programs. In addition, I've increased this city's budget for after-school programming to $2.2 million, up 120% from last year. Both DPSCDs in the city's investment moves us closer towards our goal of ensuring that there is an after-school program within a 2-mile radius of every school in our city. I look forward to partnering with our newest council member, Denzel McCampbell, who is also focused on expanding opportunities for our young people. From the young to the young at heart, my administration has a plan. Therefore, I created the Office of Senior Affairs with new senior advocates to ensure our seniors' needs are met. I refuse to let our seniors live in substandard conditions, which is why the Building and Safety Department will now prioritize compliance and its inspection efforts in our senior buildings, with the goal of bringing 65 buildings into compliance by August of this year. We will also continue to build housing for our seniors. And very first round is for 49 units of new senior affordable housing that is opening next year for our seniors. I want to thank Council Member Miller, who is not here this evening, for her continued advocacy for our seniors as well. We know that housing isn't the only need that our seniors have. It's also difficult to get access to fresh food. We know that healthy eating leads to healthy living. Therefore, I am proud to announce a new senior food program, bringing free, fresh fruits and vegetables to our senior buildings citywide. Now, switching gears, interacting with city government should not be hard, which is why I recruited transformation and customer service expert Winnie Lau to serve as our Chief Operating Officer. After seeing how Winnie dramatically improved the customer service and reduced wait times at Secretary of State offices across our state, I am confident that she is the right person to help reshape how residents and businesses interact with city government. One way we will do this is by launching opportunity hubs that will bring city government resources directly to your neighborhood. So stay tuned. Detroit, you gave me a mandate to deliver on the issues that matter to you most, which is why I've already issued several executive orders to improve the lives of all Detroiters. Property values are rising, and that's a good thing. But to ensure fairness in the assessment process, I issued my first executive order so that assessments better reflect the value of your property. To those who share my belief that we can't simply police our way out of crime, my second executive order established the Office of Neighborhood and Community Safety, led by Director Teferi Brent. I deeply believe that safety is more than the absence of violence, also the presence of belonging, opportunity, and community. I have charged this office with implementing a holistic public health approach with a special focus on domestic and intimate partner violence, which makes up 19% of all homicides. And as a part of our citywide violence prevention strategy, we are launching Occupy this summer. This summer, we will invest an additional $1.5 million to do three things: extend our rec center hours until 11 p.m., provide weekly programming to keep our young people engaged and occupied, and relaunch Detroit's Midnight Basketball League with wraparound services. So come get your game on and your life together. To those like me who believe that housing should be a human right and accessible, my third executive order increases the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Starting now, when the city sells commercial property, 100% of the proceeds will go directly into the Housing Trust Fund. That means an additional $4 million is available this year alone for the development of and preserving affordable housing in our city. And although there's more to do around affordable housing, the truth is, it's not just about affordability. Raising the incomes of Detroiters is just as important. A University of Michigan study found only a third of Detroit residents earn a living wage. Think about that for a second. 64% of Detroiters working full-time are not paid a livable wage. That means one unexpected expense can lead to foreclosure, eviction, and homelessness. And to put full day work should not have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to meet their most basic needs. As mayor, I believe in the dignity that a living wage can provide, and I am leading by example. My fourth executive order directs that effective July 1 of this year, a living wage standard will be set for all full-time City of Detroit employees. This ensures that no public servant makes less than $44,616 per year. That's $21.45 an hour. This impacts over 900 City of Detroit employees, 30% of which call Detroit home.
When I heard about the livable wage, it meant to me things were getting ready to change. Now I don't have to worry so much. It gives me some financial stability. I've been working 2 jobs for a while now. I'm ready to just get back into just me.
Better opportunities, better living condition. That means a lot. I can take care of my kids much better. My oldest son, he's getting ready to go to college. He's going to graduate from Henry Ford High School, and this wage actually helps me help him more.
It's definitely going to motivate me to be the best that I can be, to service the community the best that I can service them. I felt like now it's going to be a morale booster.
Everyone feel more valued now. They feel they come to work and give 110%, knowing that they're getting paid better to be able to take care of their families and bills.
Hopefully with this change, it'll bring more people into recreation that want to work for recreation. And it can go back to just being a good place to work, because it's a very fun place to work. Recreation is that deal.
Anybody that want to come work for the city, recommend it.
To our corporate leaders and all of our employers, the ball is in your court. If Detroit can pay its workers a living wage, you can too. I want to thank Council for his support on this initiative and his leadership with the Generational Wealth Task Force. We look forward to partnering with you on more initiatives to build our middle class. Thank you, Councilman. Earlier this month, I presented my very first budget as mayor to the City Council. And yes, this $3 billion budget is balanced right down to the penny. Right, Tanya? There she is. Sitting on the other side of the table was a little bit different, but they took it easy on me. In all seriousness, I am excited to work with this City Council to finalize the city's 13th balanced budget next week. Detroit's fiscal house is in order. This budget is a statement of our priorities and our values. We are continuing the 13th check for our retirees. We are bringing back our program to clear dead and dangerous trees in our neighborhoods. Thank you, Council President Tate, for your leadership and advocacy for this program. We are continuing the neighborhood beautification program to ensure that 100 new block clubs and nonprofits can turn vacant and blighted lots into beautiful community spaces. And to all of you who have been waiting for years to have your sidewalks repaired, the wait is over. The wait is over. I have budgeted $8 million to clear the backlog of 6,300 requested sidewalk repairs, and work will start this summer. I am proud of the work that we've accomplished in our Detroit to rise higher. We need reliable, safe, and efficient transportation. To that end, we have 45 new buses in service and are scheduled to receive an additional 80 new buses over the next 2 years. This will allow us to achieve our goal of having 240 buses operating on time daily. We have also proposed a $30 million funding increase in this budget, which allows us to retain and attract the very best drivers, now paying them $25 an hour, finally putting us on par with SMART. We have new maintenance and repair capacity thanks to our state-of-the-art Coolidge Terminal, which opens up next month. And this year, we'll add 175 new benches and upgrade 100 bus shelters citywide. I want to thank our dedicated transit advocates and especially Brother Cunningham. Brother Cunningham has agreed to partner with DDOT as a transit ambassador. I also want to thank Councilmember Santiago Ramiro for her consistent advocacy for transit in the city of Detroit. My administration understands how important our small businesses are in driving our economy forward. We will work hard every day to make Detroit the best place to start and grow your business. Which is why we are continuing programs like Motor City Match, which supports business owners like Corey Williams, who is here this evening. He saw an opportunity in a vacant building in the same neighborhood he grew up in. He received a $50,000 grant to open up a new bar and grill called the Wildermere. He hired 17 employees, and all of them are Detroit residents. And the Detroit Legacy Business Program, which provides funding for businesses that have operated in our city for over 30 years, like the historic and iconic Baker's Keyboard Lounge. And just last week, we announced our second round of grant recipients for the Detroit Startup Fund. That's right. Councilmember Young, right? And we know that money is great, but we know it won't solve all the problems. Our small businesses want permit, simple zoning laws, and operational support to help scale their businesses. And our COO and Building Safety Department is actively creating a plan to tackle these issues. This administration is moving with urgency to attract the emerging industries that are shaping our future. And at the same time, we are designing workforce strategies so Detroiters are prepared for the jobs of today and the jobs of tomorrow. Because growth without access is not success. And we are building both together. We are strengthening our talent pipeline through Detroit at Work. We're deepening our partnerships with high schools, colleges, and universities to ensure that Detroiters are first in line for these opportunities. It takes both small businesses and large employers to power our economic engine. I know I may be biased, but I truly believe that Detroit has some of the best untapped talent right here in our city. And we will put Detroiters to work. In just about every conversation I have across this city, I hear someone say, Mayor, we need more affordable housing. And they're absolutely right. We need more housing that is safe, affordable, and accessible. Because when families have stable housing, our neighborhoods grow stronger, our children are more successful in school, and families can build generational wealth. In the last 10 years, we have made tremendous progress, with over 3,000 new affordable housing units built, and 12,000 units have been preserved. But we still have more work to do. And one tool to help achieve this goal is the city's fast-track pilot ordinance passed by City Council last year. This cuts the lengthy housing approval process, and it allows developers to receive an automatic property tax reduction in exchange for keeping rents affordable. Under this new pilot ordinance, 3,500 housing units are now available for Detroiters. Another 2,000 have been approved, and nearly 3,000 more are in the pipeline. My administration is not stopping there. Our 21st century housing challenges require 21st century zoning ordinances. And I look forward to working with our city council to partner on ways to modernize our city's outdated zoning laws. To make it easier and make it quicker for us to build more housing for Detroiters. This administration is dreaming big with a goal of building 1,000 single-family homes over the next 4 years. To make this goal more attainable, by late this year, our Building and Safety Department will now offer pre-approved designs for new home construction. This will significantly cut the cost and the time that it takes to build a new home and turn vacant land into productive use. Furthermore, you will no longer have to wait 30 days or more to get a building permit to rehab your home or your business. You can now get it the very same day. So now let's talk about something that I care deeply about, homeownership. Owning a home is essential to achieving the American dream and building generational wealth. Through our first 2 rounds, the Down Payment Assistance Program has helped nearly 800 Detroiters become first-time home buyers. And one of those recipients is Gail Gibson, and she is here with us this evening.
The first time I heard about the down payment assistance program, I never thought that I would be a participant until my landlord came to my door and told me that he was about to sell the house that I had been staying in for 10 years. And I said, well, let me see, can I buy this house? And I got all my paperwork together. I did everything online. I thought I was a little bit too old to own a home, but I also thought about generational wealth. So I took advantage of the program, and it's working just fine. I'm proud of my house, and I'm glad that the city of Detroit gave me the $25,000 to put down. But the program was a big help to me, so here I am in my own home, and I love it.
Gail Gibson, congratulations. Congratulations. I am excited to announce that applications for our next round are now open. This will provide another 450 Detroiters with up to $25,000 in down payment assistance on the purchase of their new home. I would like to thank Councilmember Johnson for her advocacy around affordable housing, and I'm looking forward to the continued partnership. Unfortunately, we have also seen several cases of deed fraud throughout our city. And I want to thank Councilmember Waters for her leadership on hosting workshops throughout our city on deed fraud. My administration is here to support your work. But even with all of these tools and programs, the cost of being a homeowner or a business owner in this city is way too high. Affordability is top of mind for everyone these days, which is why my administration is working so hard to find ways to lower family expenses and the cost of doing business where we can. One of those areas, we all know, is property taxes. Over the last 4 years, we have reduced the city's property tax debt millage by a total of 6 mills, including 1 mill in this proposed budget. And that is just the beginning. So what would it take for us to lower our property tax rate to be competitive with other major cities? It would take roughly a 30 to 60% reduction and a plan to replace that revenue. It's tough, but we have to get it done. My administration is in the early stage of researching potential ways to generate revenue to offset a reduction. And we are committed to working with the community every step of the way. There isn't one silver bullet. We're going to continue to provide and combine a handful of options to significantly reduce property taxes while also minimizing the impact on everyday Detroiters. These are tough conversations, but I look forward to working with Governor Whitmer, Speaker Hall, and Senate Majority Leader Brinks on issues that are critical to Detroit's continued progress. While we've seen a historic 60-year reduction in crime in Detroit, public safety remains a top priority of this administration. Over the last several years, we've seen a decrease in every major category of violent crime. I want to thank the men and women of the police department, Chief Bedison, as well as our county, state, and federal partners for your work in this effort. Also included in these partnerships are the community violence intervention groups that continue to play a critical role in our public safety strategy. One of the things that I've heard from residents and businesses is that they are also concerned with property crime. So I have directed DPD to create a property crime squad in all 12 precincts. In addition to this new focus, our neighborhood police officers will be more visible and present in every neighborhood to build trust and enhance the overall quality of life for Detroiters. My administration is also prioritizing Detroiters' mental health and wellness by adding our third shift to the mental health co-response team. For the first time, this blended unit of police officers and mental health professionals will be operating 24 hours, 7 days a week. I look forward to partnering with our county, state, and other community stakeholders to ensure that Detroiters have greater access to the mental health resources that they need and deserve. Now, you can't talk about public safety without also acknowledging the great work of the Detroit Fire Department. They continue to serve as a national model for their emergency response, again, beating the national average for 911 call response times. As of today, response times for EMS is 7 minutes and 30 seconds, compared to the national average of 9 minutes. We also know that well-lit neighborhoods are safe neighborhoods. And while we've made tremendous strides in putting up street lights in recent years, a number of residents and block clubs continue to express the need for additional lighting. Well, Detroit, 2 weeks ago, I signed an executive order paving the way for the Brighten Up the Block plan. This will utilize Public Lighting Authority bond savings to add 3,000 new mid-block street lights in our neighborhoods. Residents will now have the opportunity to participate directly in community engagement sessions that will start next month. And the goal is to begin installing these street lights this summer. When people from across the country talk about Detroit's epic comeback story, they often focus on how amazing and vibrant downtown feels. And they're not wrong. We have beautifully restored buildings like the Book Tower, the David Whitney Building. Campus Martius was just voted #1 public space in America. #1. Something that we all should be proud of. But now is the opportunity to show that Detroit's future is not only defined by a few square miles of downtown. This administration will ensure that Detroit's future is built block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood. All too often, economic development is framed as a zero-sum game, where one neighborhood prospers at the expense of another. But we don't have to pick winners or losers. Detroit has neighborhoods at different stages of opportunity, and each has the potential to be its own economic engine. Our neighborhood anchor plan meets every neighborhood where they are by employing resources that are rooted in 3 core pillars: stabilize, strengthen, and grow. Stabilize. This is about people, making sure that Detroiters have the support that they need to stay in their homes and thrive. Programs that support families, strengthen the social fabric of our neighborhoods. Strengthen. This is about place, investing directly into the physical conditions of our neighborhoods. And grow. This is about opportunity, bringing economic development directly into our neighborhoods and our commercial corridors. The key point is this: every neighborhood deserves investment, and we will tailor a plan for every community to rise higher. To jumpstart this new neighborhood anchor plan, I am proud to announce the Detroit Housing for the Future Fund 2.0 led by LISC, a nearly $50 million investment that will provide grants and low-interest loans to build and preserve affordable housing in our neighborhoods. Another major component of this neighborhood plan is an aggressive retail strategy. We are going to actively recruit national and local retailers to come to Detroit. For too long, the city has waited for retailers to come to them. My administration will go out and compete for that investment. Because strong neighborhoods need more than housing structure. They need vibrant commercial corridors where people can shop, work, and gather close to home. My administration has a clear goal to make Detroit the easiest, most predictable, and attractive city in America for retail. To lead this effort, we will appoint the city's first ever director of retail attraction. I believe that retailers can and will succeed in Detroit. The market is here, the residents are here, the opportunity is now. Now, you all have heard me many times that development needs to go further into our neighborhoods. And make no mistake, this development is already taking place, with Detroiters leading the way. Let me introduce you to Sauda, who invested in the same neighborhood that she grew up in. She is now the developer of Merrill Place 2, which is a 27-unit mixed-income housing project in Northwest Goldberg that is now open to Detroit residents. Sauda is here with us this evening. Can you stand up? Sauda. And then Jessie, native who returned back to Detroit to build her legacy. The Jessie Felice Learning Center is now open. It is a multilingual, community-centered learning space in Brightmoor. She is also here this evening. And also this summer, we will celebrate the opening of Minnock Park Place in Grand Mount Rosedale, which will bring 42 units of senior housing along much-needed commercial space. And we are just getting started. Neighborhood economic development is on the way. So Detroit, we covered a lot tonight. And I think it's clear that we are giving people real reasons to choose Detroit. If you live here now, we want you to stay. This administration is investing in you. For Detroiters who left, we're calling you home. Yeah. I know some of you left saying, I got out, but tonight, let's reshape that narrative to I got back in. And if you're not from our city, let me welcome you the Detroit way. What up, though?
If you love Detroit like I do, then you got three options. Stay, return, or move. Let me explain.
If you stayed in Detroit, this is for you. More investment in neighborhoods, more housing, and more opportunities for you and your family. You held it. The city is investing back in you.
If you left Detroit, this is your sign. New developments, new opportunities. The whole city's evolving.
The Detroit you left is not the Detroit you're coming back to.
And if you never lived in Detroit, there's real homeownership opportunities, lower cost of living.
Culture, community, everything. You can actually build something here.
I stayed here. I moved here.
And I returned.
I moved here.
I stayed. I returned.
I moved. I stayed.
I returned.
So whether you stay, come back, or pull up for the first time,
Detroit is building something real.
Detroit is a city of culture, creativity, and innovation. A city where you can make your mark, grow your career, and start a business. From the DIA to the Wright Museum, from Easter Market to Belle Isle, and a Riverwalk that is ranked #1 in the nation. We offer world-class culture and spaces. A new multi-sports complex is on the way, and with it, the WNBA is coming back home, where it belongs. Megastars Big Sean and Usher partnered with the Boys and Girls Club to open up a new entertainment innovation incubator. Our young people will create right here in this city. And this city is undergoing a massive multi-billion-dollar healthcare transformation. State-of-the-art medical campuses are rising. Academic research is expanding. Detroit is where careers are being built and lives are being changed. So starting tonight, we are kicking off a new growth strategy in partnership with Dan Gilbert and the Move Detroit Coalition. We are launching a new incentive program to retain, attract, and bring Detroiters home. Our first program will support 313 current and future Detroiters with real resources. $15,000 to support home ownership and business growth, and $1,000 in relocation assistance to make it easier to come home to Detroit. Applications are open right now, so go to movedetroit.com. Whether it's to stay, to return, or to move, it is time to choose Detroit. So this is what we're doing. We are fixing sidewalks and lighting up neighborhoods. We are raising wages and expanding opportunity. We are cutting red tape and building homes. We are protecting our elders and investing in our children. We are honoring our workers and welcoming innovators. We are doing all of this together because that is what Detroit does. And together, I know we will rise higher. God bless you all. Thank you all so much for being here.
Mics aren't on.
Now the mics are on. How are you?
Yeah. All right. So she stayed on schedule. About 56-minute speech.
Yep.
From Mayor Mary Sheffield. Before we get deep into our thoughts, let's just have a quick debrief. First of all, I want to apologize. The stream coming out of Mumford High School was not the best, so we kind of had a layer cake of technical difficulties. So anybody rocking with us for the entirety of the stream, we apologize. But Jer, as host number one, your thoughts?
Interesting mix of both the idea of people moving to Detroit and keeping people in Detroit.
Yeah.
I think that was good. I don't even know exactly where to start with. I will say that it seemed to be in that kind of traditional state of the city format. We're going to touch on a bunch of things in a row. I will note that she really touted a lot of the executive orders that she rolled out in recent weeks. Not all of these were released tonight.
No.
Because we've been covering this stuff, that $21 plus.
Yeah, that was
thing.
last month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to talk about when Briana Rice gets here from Outlier Media, she is on her way from Mumford High School, is I really saw a number that was the crux of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about affordable housing, you're talking about all these things, right? So in my notes, I'm going through here, and she says that 64% of Detroiters working full-time are not paid a livable wage.
Yes.
Then you compare that with our housing costs, which compared to the rest of the nation are very affordable.
But
when you have 64% of Detroiters working full time and not making a livable wage, that circle will not square.
That affordability doesn't matter. And listen, there's only so much the administration can do about that. There are unfortunately market forces at play, but this is true. And I think one of the main things and one of the foundational arguments to be had about this is it's going to behoove the city to bring those jobs into the city, not just have those jobs continue to go out to the suburbs, right?
2/3 of Detroiters don't work in the city.
In the city, exactly. And so when we're talking about very basic stuff, we're talking about people who work at the mall, people who work at, retail stores of varying degrees. Factories, people who do maintenance and cleaning jobs in office buildings or apartment buildings. All those are jobs. We don't, a lot of times we don't think about that kind of stuff when it comes to the robustness of a city, but those jobs are not only required in a real place or in a real city that is self-sustaining. Those jobs are prevalent. And right now we don't have the retail, office, and municipal space to provide for those jobs, in addition to the white-collar jobs and the middle management jobs and six-figure jobs
which a lot of those jobs are in the city. Actually, the city's seen a huge growth in those jobs.
Yep.
But the vast majority of those jobs are held by suburbanites.
They're held by suburbanites who don't pay taxes in the city.
Well, they do.
Or excuse me, they do because they work.
They pay the income tax.
Because they pay the income tax. Thank you for correcting me. But they don't own homes in the city, and therefore do not pay property tax.
Bad D2 says nothing about Duggan. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, but I think based on how the state of the city was started, it makes a lot of sense. But I believe our guest is here, so we're going to take a short pause.
We're going to get her settled in here for a second.
We get her settled in. Jerry, you can take care of that. I'll talk to the chat here. So nothing about Mike Duggan. I think that is one of those situations where the focus, she wanted to keep the focus on what was going on. And it is interesting. The job stats, I think, are beyond just, I don't want to say frustrating, but the reality is the reality. Like when we're talking about the numbers, really all she can do is help improve what's going on with the city gigs. And so, Jer.
Well, we have our guest.
All right.
Briana Rice. Very excited.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. Welcome.
Okay, I think is the microphone on now?
They should be. Can you talk for us?
Hey.
There we go.
You can hear me? Good.
The joys of doing a live stream.
Yes, it's really
Welcome.
fun.
Well, you were all over the place because you were out at Mumford. You just got here.
I did just get here. Yes, I was. It was my first time at Mumford. Full room, completely packed, which was different than her last event at the Detroit Opera, which was kind of spacious. So I think it felt very intimate, is what I would say.
How big was the auditorium over there? Do you know?
Not so big. I don't know how many people were in there. Maybe 200-300.
Yeah. Oh, very intimate. Okay.
I mean, it's a high school auditorium.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I wasn't sure exactly because they were thin on the wide shots, and the wide shots had a pretty darkened situation. Now, I remember, I was telling the chat, I remember the State of the Cities with Dennis Archer and Kwame Kilpatrick and the whole Detroit.
Yeah, they would do it at the Fox and stuff like that.
Yeah. That was wild. That was a wild time. But really good. So what was the vibe that you kind of caught over there?
I think it felt because it was such a smaller space, it felt very familiar, I guess. I saw a lot of city people. There were a lot of media there. It seemed like friends and family people were cheering. Mostly a jovial atmosphere. There were, Jamel Hill was there because the auditorium was named after her, and there were some celebrity shout outs. But I think it was a good vibe.
It was interesting to see so many celebrities, right up front, straight out introductions all the way.
Oh, yeah. She shouted a lot of people out.
Yeah. But let's get into some of the meat and potatoes here of what she was talking about. And I want to start on, we already were talking about a little bit about what she said about, 2/3 of the city basically working below a livable wage. The living wage executive order that she signed, which would raise that cap up for city workers to about $44K a year. And listen, I know that sounds not a lot to a lot of people, but I can tell you as somebody who has made $44K a year, that at the time was enough to live on your own. That's a little bit harder now. But with a roommate or a significant other, you could be doing okay.
Yeah.
And for a lot of folks, that will change their positioning in life.
Yeah, change your station in life, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And so for me, that was one of the biggest pieces of news that if you didn't hear about it, because we reported on it here in Daily Detroit, of course.
And Outlier Media
And
covered
Outlier Media, of course. But right after that is something that I found very, very interesting, which is the sort of number of community sort of executive orders that she signed, you know, talking about extending recreation hours, bringing back midnight basketball, which again sounds very innocuous, but as somebody who used to go to that stuff, it kept you out of trouble. And then also talking about brightening up the block, because I hate LED streetlights with a passion. And to hear that there would be more streetlights, I think is heartening.
That's a good word. That's a good word for it.
Yeah. But what about you? What stood out to you, Brianna?
Oh, I think a lot of this is things that we've heard before, and I'm really interested. I think most people probably don't tap in as much as journalists do, so maybe they haven't heard it. This might be the first time, but I do think she's really leaning on some of those campaign promises in a real way, just by hiring people. She's like, these things will come. Someone else is going to make these calls. Someone's going to alleviate poverty here. But to get started, yeah, there's like a minimum income for city workers. I think that is really interesting. And she immediately says, you know, balls in your court to all these other businesses. I don't know if other businesses will follow suit, but she keeps repeating that. So I think it's something worth watching. But I was listening on the way over as I was driving. I left a little early. And something that stood out to me is this new director of retail who's going to be bringing, like, are we getting a Target in Detroit now?
Well, we've been talking about it for how many years? I don't know I feel like I've been talking to about a Target in the city for 20 years at this point.
Everyone has. So I thought that was super interesting. That's not something she said before. So she dropped several little breadcrumbs like that. I need to grab my notebook.
Go ahead, grab your notebook.
Grab your notebook.
We're not in the main. We're doing the live stream. We're doing that fun thing. You know, I think what's interesting for me as you're grabbing that notebook is that a lot of feedback is I want to see the new things that are happening downtown happen in my neighborhood. And one of the quickest ways to show that would be to liven up those commercial corridors, which I know I stay on the east side. A lot of those have not been touched in a very long time. You know, I think about a commercial building that's a couple blocks away from me. There was a candy store back in the 60s and 70s, according to my neighbors. Mm-hmm. It hasn't been touched in 30 years, right? Those are the kinds of things where it's like they see things happening downtown. And I mean, on this show, we've discussed that although downtown definitely has some major investment, it also doesn't have a ton of residents compared to other regional downtowns in the nation.
You've heard me say it. You know, there's no neighborhood in Detroit that is at critical mass. There is no neighborhood in the city where you say, there's nowhere else to go. We're going to have to build vertical or we're going to have to push people. There's nowhere in Detroit like that. So there is space for all the stuff that she's talking about. It's
how we deploy it, right?
It's how we deploy it. And I think to your point, talking about this sort of, you know, director of retailers, you know, municipal retail liaison or whatever their official title is going to be, I find that very interesting because that is part of the way you get wages to rise in the city. The jobs are not in the city. So how do we create the jobs? Where you do have to start small. You have to start with getting, you know, Uniqlo in the city.
That's your.
I don't care. I love Uniqlo.
There's two things our chat has been big on. It's Uniqlo and Trader Joe's.
Oh, Trader Joe's. Yeah, I mean, I have to go to Royal Oak or Grosse Pointe right now. So imagine if it was, you know, on the west side. It'd be so different.
Exactly. And think about, you know, how many people a Trader Joe's or a place like that employs. And I'm willing to bet that quite a few people who work at that Trader Joe's are Detroit residents.
In the chat, Mr. 1213, good to see you. I know we said hi in the text, but it's always good to see you. I came late. Did she bring up transportation improvements?
She did. So one of the ones that I hadn't heard before, and I've been listening to a lot of Mary Sheffield, are 240 new buses operating on time daily is something she said is happening right now. That's her new goal. 240 is a lot of buses, and to say that they're operating on time, I'm like, okay.
I mean, I think that's her goal for them to operate on time. I'm a bus rider, so I'm very familiar with the not on time part or the ghost bus or things like that. I think they still have a lot of work to do.
Absolutely.
And getting those buses in would be a big part of it, because part of it is the hardware situation, you know, is making sure you've got enough mechanics, making sure they're paid well enough. You know, and one of the challenges we have as a city without any like structural transit. What do I mean by structural transit? I don't mean like a streetcar. I mean like an L line in Chicago or something like that, where you can really move a ton of riders at once. Is you're so reliant on motor vehicles that require a lot of maintenance, a lot of work. Like bus systems compared to a train are very expensive to maintain. Like it costs a lot to bring a train in, but once you get it going, I mean, New York's got cars that have gone 50 years.
Yep.
You know, so that's some of the ongoing challenges with transit with that.
Yeah, and on top of that, one thing she did say that I think will be a huge boon, especially for the parents of the city of Detroit, is free bus rides for all DPS students.
Yes.
This is, I think we underestimate how major something like this can be, because this is beyond mobility just to and from the classroom. This is kids being able to attend extracurriculars. This is kids being able to take the bus to jobs. This is kids being able to take the bus to and fro third spaces. And so when we're talking about like how does a city become a more holistic place, you have to have programs like this, right? Because without it, everybody hates asking their mama and them for money, right? Mom, I want to go to so-and-so house. Can I get an extra $5 because I got to get on the bus? No. That's devastating, you know? So, you know, being able to just ride the bus for free is huge.
Yeah, I was wondering how that was going to work, which she also announced today. It's going to be students have to show their IDs, which I'm super interested. I did not always have an ID in high school and elementary. As a kindergartner, certainly I didn't have an ID. So I am curious how this is all going to work in practice, or if that's something else that DPS is going to have to like make sure every student has. But yeah. Generally, there was huge applause when that was told, and I think I am excited to see how that one plays out. And she did announce today, too, that the money that would have been used for bus passes for Detroit students is being diverted to after-school programs, which pushes her closer to that goal that she talked about a lot during her campaign, which is an after-school program within 2 miles of every school. Yep. So I think that's more of that. Yeah, programming that. I'm really excited to see how it all plays out. I mean, the school year is almost over, so maybe we're talking about the fall, but I guess the new budget's in July anyway.
Yeah, you gotta deal with the budget. Yeah. You know, one thing I think that's interesting about this is the line that she walks between the public schools and the charter privates, because I don't know what the statistic is off my top of my head. I've seen different sources, anywhere from 40 to 50% of Detroit resident kids do not go to DPSCD. They go to charters or other schools. And so the city, it has to respond to its voters who have voted that they're going to send their kids to charter schools, right?
Yeah.
So she's in an interesting position because she does not run the school district, unlike some other major cities, and she has to serve kind of two masters with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. But I will tell you, you know, obviously this is not something that I think parents will make a decision on what's, you know, solely on what school they send their kids to, but it does help the compelling argument of keeping your kid in a public school system as opposed to taking them out of one. I think this is one of those things that kind of stems the bleed of the public school system, and then having that increase for after school programs is going to be incredibly important, because once more, extracurriculars is something that we know the suburbs just because of sheer funding have an advantage on.
In the chat, 120% increase for after-school programs. Love it.
There you go. I mean, like, this is a thing that, you know, parents across the board are going to enjoy. You know, we all remember the era of latchkey, and, you know, it's going to be really important for parents in the city of Detroit to feel like their kids have other outlets as opposed to, you know, TikTok and fork knife.
Fork knife?
Fork knife.
Fork knife? Fortnite?
Yes.
Fortnite.
So what other highlights do you have, Briana?
What other highlights? The Green Grocer program. I hadn't heard her talk about that, but I know that we constantly are talking about there not being enough grocery stores in the city. So this idea, this is my 5th year living in Detroit, so I don't think I was ever here for the Green Grocer program, but I know at some point there were a lot of smaller grocery stores that were getting produce, and they're bringing it back. She also said that she's anticipating 5 grocery stores, small scale, opening this year, which I think is like the neighborhood grocer. So yeah, I think that was one of the most compelling things when Pastor Kinlock was running, right? He was going to open how many grocery stores, he kept saying, and 10,000 units. I think that is like a really... that's hitting on something. And she also already has started that pilot program for seniors right now, trying to get fresh produce there. So, she's hitting the ground running for sure.
That senior program, I think, is going to be really important because if you know the layout of those senior buildings and sometimes where they're stuck, like if you're a senior, you don't have the ability to drive or you have limited driving ability, you don't want to have to like get in the bus or do the shuttle or whatever to try to do everything. You don't want to have to do all of that, right? Like having it to your door.
Probably too, right? Like you can only carry so much.
Well, it turns something that, could be something right outside your door into a half a day activity, which, by the way, if you're a senior, that can be really exhausting.
Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that, again, we also have to consider the fact that we are an aging society and people are living longer. And our senior, high rises and senior communities have been devoid of so many resources because of various federal funding cuts and so on and so forth. Having a program like this, as someone who has had family in these senior communities, is going to be a huge deal. It's going to be a thing that could potentially save lives. People don't think about how basic having something like, produce available to them is, but this is the type of stuff that could get people who no longer have high blood pressure, hypertension, and various other health effects. Just being able to provide them with fresh fruit and veggies could potentially be life-saving.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, you're the journalist.
Okay, I can keep going.
For sure. I mean, the floor is yours. And I mean, just so people know, we're kind of doing a little recap now. We're also going to record an episode of the show and kind of introduce that. So if we hit on these topics again, I apologize if you're in the stream. But if you got questions and things, please feel free to drop them in there.
Yeah, I am super interested in a lot of these new offices, like the Office of Neighborhood and Community Safety, how we're, working with our community violence intervention groups and how that's a public health issue. I think all of that's super interesting. But really, I feel like the thing that Mayor Sheffield's being kind of cagey about, but still talking about, are these opportunity hubs. I am super interested in how there are going to be 12 to 15, she's calling them opportunity hubs. I'm assuming they're physical buildings, right, that people can walk into, and you're supposed to get all the help that you need. So whether you need help applying to paying for your water bill, which we know a lot of our seniors cannot use computers. I did an event 2 weeks ago where people didn't have access to their email. So I think basic things like that, having a physical space you can go to get city help, and they're supposed to be able to do wraparound services and all these things. It seems like a big undertaking. Like, people have a lot of needs. So
talk to me about that access to their email, like, for the listeners, right?
Oh,
yeah, because I want people to really understand, who are in the chat or listening to this video later. They might not understand on the ground, like, what's actually happening.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I have been reporting on home repair with some of my colleagues at Outlier, and the city opened a home repair application for 2 weeks only, and you had to be above 62 or have a kid in your home or a disability, and there were income requirements. But most of these people, were having serious issues. So we had an event and just invited seniors to come, and we'd help them apply. I had people who knew they had an email but weren't certain how to get onto the email app, didn't know their password, didn't know how to forget your password. Some people had to create emails. Someone came in with a flip phone, no access to internet at all in their home, didn't know how to use a computer. And to apply for the city's home repair application, you had to get on your email, get a code sent to your email, find that code, put it into this app, find the application, and then fill it out. Way above and beyond the technical skills that many of these seniors had, and it was the only way to apply. So I hope, if I'm frank, that these opportunity hubs are spaces that, seniors can come. I think that it hopefully helps with the engagement. Like they're doing a down payment assistance program that Mary Sheffield also has been announcing lately, $25,000 assistance towards buying a home. But again, if you are a senior who doesn't know how to work a computer, how are you going to navigate any of it? Like you can't, even with that home repair, you could call the Housing Resource Helpline or the number listed and they're like, we cannot fill it out for you.
Well, I'm thinking if you're watching this live stream, whether you're in the city or in the suburbs, whether you've got a level of technical sophistication, right?
Sure, yep.
And I know, Norris Howard, you have a lot of experience. You actually worked with Northwest
Activity Center, yeah.
where you dealt with some of these issues as well as connectivity issues over on that side of town.
Yeah, so it was very interesting to me that they chose Mumford High School, and I'm sure there's been loads of improvements. I know they just recently did a refurb of Mumford, but when I was working over there, this is around the 2016, 2017, or 2015, 2016, the last time I worked over there. Even though it was a very dense, stable neighborhood, it still was basically a data desert. It was not a place where a lot of people were connected with high-speed internet, definitely not fiber at the time. And what was very shocking to me when I worked at Northwest is exactly what you're talking about, is that digital literacy gap that we had that has only widened over the past decade or so. And so for me, when I was at Northwest, we had things like Michigan Works that turned into Detroit at Work, and there were these different hubs that we had. But over time, less and less people began to use those areas because, again, it was very intimidating. It was intimidating to go to these spaces. And also, you had less incentive. These home repair programs did not exist back then. So there was almost no reason for you to even go and try. Sure, they had computer classes. But if you didn't need to use a computer for anything real in your daily life, it was not something you were going to do. But now, when you have the home repair stuff, now when you want to apply for some of these incentives, now when you want to apply for assistance, you do have to do it digitally. And it's very disappointing to hear that, but I'm not shocked at all, unfortunately.
Yeah. I wonder with those opportunity hubs, you're talking about what they might look like. Are they going to do something straight out of the ground? Or are they going to look at someplace like, East Side Community Network, to throw it out there, friend of the show, Donna Givens Davidson? Like, do you put it in like an ECN that's already got a flagship
or
there?
A Durfee.
Or a Durfee or something like that. Like, there's so many. Do you partner with people? Do you do a blend of it? What does that really look like? Is that going to be staffed all the time? Because, I get a little, being a vintage Detroiter, I'm not a legacy Detroiter. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, you are.
Well, I guess I was born here, wasn't I?
Being an old guy from here.
Yeah, old guy. So I remember when the mini stations were going to be like a huge thing.
Me too.
Police mini stations everywhere.
Mini stations.
And every single mini station I went to, it was like empty as hell. And it was just like a shelf with like a phone cord hanging out of it in a Family Dollar.
It was bad, man.
And I'm not saying this will be this way, but I think it's important. You're talking about seniors, people who've had a little bit of perspective with this town. We want to see like small wins that are effective are going to be more important than big wins that don't hit it, right? At least in my mind. So those are some of my thoughts. I have some chat point, unless you've got more. I mean, obviously you have more things to share. But do you mind if I add?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Mr. 1213 says would love to see a Nino Salvaggio open a market in Detroit.
Sure, why not?
What about Randazzo? People need to know about Randazzo.
Okay, no, yeah. Randazzo's not. Okay, let me give you a story about Randazzo, because I done went to Randazzo for my whole life.
Your Randazzo Dazzle?
Yeah, absolutely, because it was Joe Randazzo's out there on Telegraph and Joy Road, right by where I grew up. And so I always had the wonderful, beautiful experience of being able to go to the fruit and vegetable market all the time. And I realized it took me to get all the way until high school to realize this was not a thing everybody did, because Detroit was very small to me as a kid, even though it's huge. We know that, but it was small to me. It didn't feel huge. And I would just be like, oh man, you couldn't find, your grandma couldn't find no greens. Why didn't she just go to Randazzo? And that's just like, what? That's like a 30-minute drive for me. And I'm like, oh. So Yes, I would like a Randazzo, please.
Or a Nino Salvaggio.
Anything with fresh fruits and vegetables that is not a major chain grocer, I would love it.
One of the smaller grocery stores I think that they're talking about is at Riverwards. It's going to be opening up over in my neighborhood, over near Indian Village and the Villages, which is coming up soon. They're going on.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be really important. Obviously, I know a lot of people get very frustrated about, everything is just happening in the same places, all the villages, downtown, Courtown. But it's, again, as I've said, you have to almost finish the build out of these neighborhoods. They are not done. And yes, a city should be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. I don't want y'all coming for me in the chat. I'm just saying you got to be able to have the proof of concept. So our new retail liaison can then go to these businesses and say, hey, you want to put a Zara in Detroit? Put it here.
You actually, that makes me think we should talk a little bit about what the 3-stage plan or whatever that she had. What strengthen, grow, stabilize. I think I have the order wrong.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I also didn't write that down, but I think
I have it. It's stabilize, strengthen, and grow.
See, for the main episode, we'll have it right.
Yes,
Stabilize,
stabilize, strengthen, and grow. And part of the strengthening part is that retail person. I got it. We need to find out that person's actual title.
Yeah, we will. I'm sure we'll hear.
I'm sure we'll hear about it.
Maybe we won't. Some people, you just hear their announcement and then you never hear about them again in the city. But we shall see.
All right, you know what? You were part of the family. You
Also
kept it real. You kept it real because that is some truth right there.
Yeah,
that is some truth right there. Sometimes it's like, where'd Joe go?
Where? You were supposed to be around the way. Hold on. You were supposed to be in charge of this.
I think the grow is super interesting, though. I think she really hit, whether you're from here or whether you moved here or, come back. It was an interesting, very open, welcoming note that I don't know that I typically hear in Detroit or have, really heard from residents or administrations. Definitely, I think it felt like a lighter, more welcoming. I don't know. Something was nice about it.
But you know what?
Right?
That's a message that Mary Sheffield can deliver that Mike Duggan can't.
And you took the words almost exactly out of my mouth. And I will argue it's a message that she has to deliver. Specifically Mary Sheffield, born and raised in Detroit, has to deliver, right? Because Mike Duggan could have said it, and he's tried his best to we want people to move back to the city, and it doesn't matter if you're from the suburbs. That's fine. He has to say that as the mayor. But Mary Sheffield specifically has to say it because there's been that animus between lifelong Detroiters and suburbanites and people who were born and raised in the city who left. There's always been an animus in that trifecta of people. And now to have the mayor who's of that trifecta come out and say, hey, y'all, we want y'all in the city. Here's all the reasons why. Is very, very powerful and it's important.
And provide incentives to do it.
Oh, yeah, right? I was super interested in that one, and I was, again, driving, so I only kind of heard it, but the partnership with the Gilberts that is offering $15,000 plus $1,000 moving fee on top of the city's down payment assistance program that's $25,000. I mean, she's really standing on the home ownership thing and giving multiple opportunities to buy a house right now.
1,000 single family homes is a goal of hers.
Yeah.
I expect that we're going to hear more details with this Move Detroit initiative. I expect that more of that's going to get fleshed out in the coming days.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to go to the website. I was like, wrote that down. I'm like,
because I think that there's going to be some stuff that the details are going to be important to this. What I think back to is the old Live Downtown, Live Midtown incentives.
You remember Live Midtown?
I remember them both.
Yeah.
I mean, full disclosure, I worked on the marketing video for Live Downtown.
Yeah, man.
I remember that back in the day, and it was extremely successful, where these companies put together at the time, I think, a $5 million pot for their employees with forgivable loans to purchase as well as rental assistance, and it worked very well. And it helped bridge the gap for a lot of younger people who are trying to stay in the city or just make it work. Those kind of things. It was a very transformational program for both Midtown and downtown.
That was how the lore of the Quick and Bro began. was through the Live Downtown program.
And for disclosure, I didn't design anything. I was like working as a free.
No, but it's listen. We ain't talk about
way
that.
before the Daily Detroit land.
We ain't talking about that. But I'm just saying. Listen, if you are a longtime resident of the city of Detroit, you remember the Quicken Bros, who then evolved into their next Pokemon level into the Rocket Bros. But either way,
so when that transition happened, I called it the Quickening.
Yes, it was the Quickening. Yes, indeed. But it was.
I say this is all love to our Quicken audience.
Absolutely, it was all
and
love.
The,
It's all jokes.
1,000 of you that read our email. I know the domain.
Yeah, but listen, man, y'all better be able to take a joke. But anyway, but the point is those programs were very important, particularly Live Downtown and Live Midtown, because they were able to be transformative for those neighborhoods and really the revitalization of the city, as we've talked about many times. Midtown was the heart of that. And Wayne State and CCS and what they were able to do in order to retain a lot of those kids and keep them to stay in the city over the past decade has been really important. And so it's good to see that Mary Sheffield clearly wants to continue that legacy.
Bat D2 says they did incentives for DPD and Detroit firefighters around that time too. I remember that. I also was at the press conference when they bought the ambulances. I was at that press conference back in the day when Penske and them ponied up to pay for the ambulances and the police cars because we didn't have the money for it.
And it's critical too, because I also remember when the residency requirement was removed for them and it gutted multiple neighborhoods in the city.
Yeah, multiple Copper Canyons.
Absolutely. My neighborhood was one of them.
Oh yeah, that
absolutely.
Stina Lee says pre-approved building plans sound good too.
Oh yeah, I think the whole permitting process and that she has hired a bunch of people to make it some easier. Just the hiring of Winnie too, like the whole customer service, same day permitting for your own houses that already exist. I think a lot of that is going to go a long way with people. I mean, who wants to wait 30 days? Like,
you don't have to.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big things that I think is crucial to this conversation is Detroit not only has to get in line with major cities, but it needs to start matching up with the suburbs where it's like, hey, the reality is time is money. When you hold on a project and you add an extra 30 days, you got to schedule contractors. You maybe have people on payroll. Time is money. And the faster you can get this stuff done, the more you're actually lowering those costs, and you're also creating more naturally affordable housing because you're bringing the cost down. Like every single cost you throw in makes it more expensive, and time is one of them.
Yeah, and I mean, I got a great example of this. You know, my dad wanted to build a garage, a detached garage on his property at his house. Got permitted, the whole process took him like a week. Got the guys out, they built it, it's done, it's there. And
He's in the
suburbs.
Okay.
But the whole process took, I think, max 10 days. Right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about in terms of the permitting. I also am a big fan of the pre-approved building plans because I seen some of y'all custom builds and a lot of y'all think y'all architects, and I'm saying this right now. Stop. use the building plans that are provided, and we can do something real nice and make these neighborhoods get built up even faster. Because some of y'all be trying to do.
Let your tragic choices be interior.
Exactly.
Ones.
Yeah, y'all be trying to act like y'all Gaudi or Miro or somebody like that. And y'all be putting up some crap.
Listen, now let me tell you this though. Out in the suburbs, they do put statues of middle fingers out in backyards to the neighbors.
See, I ain't got time.
Remember
for that
story?
I do remember that story. But we ain't got time for that, man. We are too busy trying to improve the city for people to be having dynasty level feuds.
I mean, what a level of the city would it be if we were, though?
I mean, money wise, I would love it.
Listen, you know what? This is a story for Tubi writer Bryce Huffman to write.
Actually,
I love that.
Actually,
all love to Bryce Huffman over at. We can mention Bridge; they exist.
Yeah, exactly.
He does great work over there, but he's also done a number of written things, and it's quite fun. I kind of think of him as a screenwriter more than anything. But anyway,
He'd love to hear that.
Yeah. Word to Bryce, man. I actually just saw Bryce, so word to Bryce, man.
All right, so we should go ahead and get our main episode recorded. So we're not here all night.
Okay.
You always appreciate you being here, but I also don't want to waste everybody's time. We're gonna take like a minute and just organize our order, and then we'll do it. Now, if you've got questions while we're doing the while we're recording the episode in the chat, please go ahead, drop them in there. We will answer them for you, but we may not during the actual episode recording itself, because when people are driving around tomorrow, they're not part of the chat. I don't want to confuse them. I want to keep it nice and focused on what we're doing with the state of the city. So if you give us like a minute, and we'll just kind of game plan our thing, and then we'll be back with you and record our episode.
Producer Adam, hit the break screen.
Of you hanging out with us. Just so you know, we're about to record our episode for the podcast tomorrow. So when we say April 1st, do not be confused. We are doing a time travel of just a few hours so that we can do this thing. And yeah, it'll be good. So Briana Rice, a civic life reporter for Outlier Media, is joining us. And Norris Howard, in case you are new here or haven't joined us earlier in the stream, we are going to record the show. Norris, you're ridiculous in the chat.
What do you mean?
Devin isn't here.
Yeah, they said, do you have any questions for Jared, Devin, or Briana?
Oh, that was producer Adam.
You see, that's what I'm saying. He thought I was my cousin.
You know, we still have yet to run a DNA test.
So Devin is another one of our hosts. We are the exact same size, even though he is a white man from Dearborn.
Yes. And
we love Devin.
And there's a photo series, which is very funny, of us at Michigan Central, and they accidentally wore the exact same outfit.
Okay, so they are the same person. I love it.
Yes. we're gonna raise money for a DNA test. See if you guys are actually cousins.
Well, if he's, you know,
everybody in Detroit's related.
If he's Nigerian and Swedish, he might be.
Well, let me just tell you, grew up in the aviation subdivision.
Not far from me.
No, I'm just saying. You might have to ask your mama some questions.
It'll be my dad.
All right, let's get into this thing. All right. And we are recording. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, friends, and welcome to your Daily Detroit, sharing what to know and where to go in Southeast Michigan. I am Jer Stays, coming to you from our studio at Tech Town in the Paris of the Midwest that is Detroit, Michigan. We have a very special episode of the podcast for you. We are doing a post-State of the City wrap-up. Mayor Mary Sheffield delivered her first State of the City speech at Mumford High School on Tuesday night. And we are actually recording this a little behind the scenes here. We're actually recording this just after the speech at the studio. Joining me, as always, Prince Brightmore himself, Norris Howard. How are you?
The West Side returns once more, and y'all get to hear me twice in 1 week. What a special treat for the Daily Detroit audience.
I love your brimming confidence. Joining us, and you'll hear that laugh, is none other than Briana Rice, who is the civic life reporter for Outlier Media, who was actually at Mumford High School for part of this, has a bunch of notes from what we were doing as well as we were watching it as part of our live stream party. Briana, welcome to Daily Detroit for the first time.
I'm so excited to be here.
We're very, very excited to have you. This is a very interesting thing to see a mayor deliver their first day of the city. You get an idea of their priorities. You get an idea of who they're highlighting, what they're not, what they're focusing on. And we could just jump into a bunch of things. But first, since you were there, what was the vibe of the room?
I thought it was a very chipper vibe. It was very intimate. You know, Mumford's not huge. It started, I think Mary Sheffield's getting into having a children's choir perform to start it off. And then there's like the national anthem and the Black national anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. So she's done that twice now and definitely like set the tone. She's punctual. It was a good vibe.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, Norris Howard, I would say that isn't that kind of the tradition to have the choir open?
Absolutely.
In Detroit. It's been that way for a while.
Yeah, it's been that way, and it'll continue to be that way. It is one of the only things that nobody should ever be angry about, and if they are, they'll hear from me.
Yes. And for listeners who may not know, the Black National Anthem.
Yes, Lift Every Voice and Sing, and if you got a problem with that, you will also hear from me.
Is that one you need to Google it?
Yeah, I'm not going to explain that one today.
I appreciate
not
that
February.
about you. It's those requests only happen on those 28 days.
Mm-hmm.
No other days.
No other days. No other days. and you're lucky because if you're listening to this, it's April. Next month is Norris History Month, so get ready.
That's because it's your birthday.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, so let's get into some of the key points about this speech. There was a large focus on growing. We could talk about home ownership and building new houses and all kinds of things. So, Briana, what were your notes and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit some of them. I think there's some big programs right now, a $25,000 down payment assistance program, another $15,000 that could bring Detroiters back here. There's also this new job title. I don't think we confirmed it, but it's basically someone who's responsible for bringing retail into the city. So we could get Targets or Zara's or all these big stores. It's going to be someone's official job to bring that in, and Mary Sheffield's really emphasizing that she wants that in neighborhoods, in commercial districts, and this idea of bringing more places that people can walk and play in their own neighborhoods. So I think she did really lean on that idea of welcoming people here, whether you're from here or not, or you left or whatever. Detroit's the place to be.
Yeah, that was one of the big sort of video packages that they had towards the end of the State of the Union, which was, a series of Detroiters were talking about, I stayed or I came back or I'm not from here, but I made a decision to move here. And I think it's really important, specifically for Mary Sheffield, to be the deliverer of that message, considering that, the last few mayors we've had, I really want to say, Kwame Kilpatrick, very polarizing mayor. You had Archer, who, I think a lot of people forget about. I think his administration gets lost in the sauce quite a bit unless you're part of the business community.
The first State of the City I ever went to, Dennis Archer.
Yeah. And then before him, you have Coleman Young, who's incredibly divisive, particularly if you're from the suburbs. So for Mary Sheffield to be the person delivering the message of come back to Detroit. We want you. Not just come back because you should, come back because we want you to. Move here because we want you to. I think is very important.
And tying it together with incentive programs and a new website, movedetroit.com. They were talking about things like down payment assistance. They were talking about $1,000 in relocation money. Was it $15,000 in attraction money? I mean, some big numbers for folks.
Yeah, absolutely. And, especially for first time home buyers. And listen, I'll say this, and Briana, you can, maybe give me more insight, but this has been one of the biggest things for, millennials and Gen Z and where they decide to live. And every city is trying to solve this issue of home ownership for young people. And I think this is a good start for a city like Detroit, and also increasing that affordable housing stock. But we also got to get wages up in the city for that affordable housing stock to become more valuable.
That was one point that I thought was really interesting. Her point that 64% of Detroiters are not making a livable wage. And there is something that co-host of the show, Devin O'Reilly's talked about. It's a little controversial in that sometimes, his view at times is, yes, there is stuff that's really expensive in places. But overall, when you look at the city of Detroit and Metro Detroit as a housing market compared to the rest of the nation, it's still very affordable, like very affordable. The key issue is getting those wages up there, because if you're not making a livable wage, it's going to be hard. I don't care what city you're in to make things work,
I think there's also something she didn't talk much about is like this idea. Detroit has really old, big homes. And I think that there's another thing here. And I have been reporting on this for Outlier Media, but home repair is going to be a big thing that we have to talk about. I think, Duggan spent all these years tearing things down, and Mary Sheffield's now talking about building things. But there are some really serious home repair needs. There are people who are living in houses that look vacant, but someone lives in them. And I think that, there are some programs available, but I think that's going to be a really big challenge this city has to face, fixing up, or what we're going to do with all these people who are living, whether it's their wages or not, are living in places that are not safe to live in.
And it's difficult. I live in a neighborhood that a lot of the housing stock was built between 1900 and 1920.
Yep.
And that is just the size and the cost of repairing those things. Even if you have money, it can be burdensome, because repairing these older homes can be a real challenge. And what was the number that you or your colleagues talked about, $1 billion, something like that?
Yeah, multi-billion-dollar problem that in the city of Detroit, and it's specific, again, because we have these old houses that are so big. So this is a problem across the country, but it's heightened here. And I think as we hear Mary Sheffield talk about home ownership, building generational wealth, some people might lose that wealth if they can't figure out how to fix these houses. So definitely we're looking towards a bright future, as she said, but I think there are some serious problems Detroit is still facing.
Oh, for sure. And it's good to see work, though, trying to address the gap, right?
Absolutely.
At least that we're talking about it, and it seems like there are concrete programs, although I think we're going to get more details on some of these things in coming days. You mentioned retail. I want to stop on that for a second, because I think it's so important. I think about all the times I drive through the city, and the commercial corridor will not look good, but you'll go in and the houses will be great. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of those in the city where the commercial corridor is nowhere near what it used to be, but you go in and they got the house pride.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think of, West 7 Mile. I think of Rosedale Park. I think of, Minnock Park. I think of, Palmer
I think of East
Park.
English Village, English Village.
Yeah, East English Village, Chandler Park Drive. I think of those areas where, everybody, the neighborhood has kept it together, but those commercial corridors haven't been as invested in. And so she named this as we talked about, this liaison for retail that is supposed to help bring retailers back to the city. And she did not specify, which I kind of wish she would have, but maybe there's some stuff going on behind the scenes. But we don't know if those retailers are, big box, Target, Walmart, whatever. Or is she going out and talking to boutique retailers? But she did say big and small business retailers. So this is going to be a thing that I think is going to be incredibly important, because when you go to other cities, right? And I've gone to L.A. recently, right? And L.A. sucks in terms of its layout, right? But one thing it does have is you'll have a neighborhood and you'll have a major thoroughfare, and it's all occupied by big retailers. You go and there's small businesses right next to, Journeys, and it's all street frontage. So it's going to be really important and really interesting to see how that's worked out.
I also think that'll be important in recirculating dollars in the city, because so many suburbanites, look, I'm going to tell you, I end up seeing a lot of my neighbors at Trader Joe's and Target and other places when I head out to them, right? Mm-hmm. So that would be a very important thing. We got a lot to go through, so I'm going to step forward into youth. She talked about a few different things. Rec centers open till 11, an Occupy the Summer program, a ton of stuff. Briana?
Yeah, I think the rec centers is a super interesting, important one. I also think that there are going to be free bus rides for students if they show an ID now, K to 12. And that money that would have been spent on bus rides because, we don't have yellow buses, so the city or the district pays for that. That money's being diverted to after-school programs. And it's getting her closer to this goal of after-school programs, at least one being within 2 miles of every school. So, yeah, she put some big midnight basketball league for anybody who remembers that and other Occupy the Summer initiatives. She's really going to try to focus on youth. She talked about job training and internships with the city. So I think there were there's an Office of Youth Affairs now. We don't know what they're going to do yet, but they're going to be doing something.
Yeah, and hopefully, I think it's a big thing, to keep them from, having Fight Club in the middle of downtown like earlier this week. But
you used to play in the Midnight Basketball League back in the day,
I
didn't you?
play. I just hung out. I didn't play basketball. I just hung out. I'm a soccer player. Okay,
was that always the case?
I'm better with my feet than my hands. I played baseball growing up, but midnight basketball was a thing a lot of my friends did, and it was a huge thing that kept us out of trouble. It kept us building community. It gave us something to do in the summertime, and going to the rec centers and having really safe fun. And the best part about it is that it was a third space. Again, like me, I didn't play, but I just went because my friends were going. So it helped to create that really important place for us to go and to have a good community with one another that didn't involve us spending a whole bunch of money.
Occupy the Summer reminds me a lot of her Occupy the Corner programs that she did when she was in city council. And listen, something that's always been a superpower of hers is being out in the neighborhoods and being out talking to people. And having these through lines, these story through lines, I think is a real power of hers in this narrative, So yeah, we talked a little bit about youth. Schools, one thing with this I want to note is that people might forget, I don't have the data right in front of me, but somewhere between 40 and 50-ish% of Detroit resident kids do not go to Detroit public school systems. They go to charter schools. And so she has to serve kind of two voter masters in this, because you have a lot of residents who are voters who are not sending their kids to Detroit schools. So she has to do programs that kind of help everybody, especially in a city where, in case listeners don't know, she does not control the school system. They are separate entities here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be really important for her to be able to work with the charters to figure out, how many of these kids can participate within some of these programs. And, the cool thing is that part of that Occupy the Summer program is extending the rec center hours. So it doesn't matter what school district you go to, you could go to the rec center, and that's cool. So for me, this, in addition to creating the crime task force or the neighborhood safety task forces that she was talking about, is going to be really important. And I think those two things will be working hand in hand quite a bit.
And let's talk safety, Briana.
Yeah, so I think that there's been a big focus in the city for a few years now. I mean, she cited, violence is down, but things are still happening. I think that they are citing a lot of that violence being down to these community violence interventions, which is a program the city's been investing in for a few years now, but they're basically paying community organizations to intervene with students and with people who, gangs. There's a lot of different work that some of them do. There are basketball leagues, there are trips to schools, but she's really investing in that. And also making an office now of community and neighborhood safety that's supposed to oversee that. And she has this idea no one can feel safe unless they have all the resources they need, which is totally a public health perspective and an important thing to say, but kind of hard in practice, right? What does it mean to make sure people can afford everything? I think something I ask at all of these press conferences every time is what are we going to do when the biggest thing here is people need more money? They can't afford anything. And so honestly, it's just going to cost so much when people can't pay their water bills. They can't afford groceries. All these things are compacted by maybe bringing the wages up is what's going to solve it, but I think that it's so hard, and it's really interesting to see her try to address all these different things that are contributing to it, and I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you have to walk and chew gum while you're the mayor of Detroit, and her plans seem to be doing that, right? If executed along as she talked about, she's really addressing a number of different ways of approaching these issues because it is a multifaceted problem. There's no silver bullet. I remember when Comerica Park was built. I remember when Ford Field was built. I remember I've seen so many projects over the years. This is going to be the thing. And, with the RenCen, we're deleting 2 towers. So, you know what I mean? Like, we really need to look at it. I know it may sound more boring. It may not be as great for clicks, but that kind of wraparound thing, that more warm approach, I think is really good. And looking at things that are very important, like affordable housing, and all the subsidies for affordable housing. And there were other things that she talked about, like programs that she's going to be funding with that, right?
Yeah, like 0% loans for people who want to build housing or preserve it. And she also... any city land that is sold now or any housing is going to go, 100% of it is going into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund now, which is, I think she said $5 million just this year alone is going to be put into that. So, yeah, we can think about what the city owns a lot of land, a lot of money can be added to that and be built. So, in partnering with people, she did highlight people who've already preserved apartment buildings in their own neighborhoods and moved Detroit residents in. And she tried to highlight, we, in our Motor City match, we gave someone $50,000 and they hired 17 Detroiters. This idea of keeping the money in, which you mentioned with the grocery stores, I think she's really trying to encourage and hit on.
Yeah, it was, I believe she said 12,000 units of affordable housing were saved just over the past year through that.
And has a goal of 1,000 single-family homes built, which is really interesting to me. You mentioned about retail and then also about grocers. I want to make sure we touch on that because they're bringing back, you said, the Green Grocer Program, and they're doing a lot with food and healthy access.
Oh, yeah. So the Green Grocer Program, if anyone remembers, is this idea of getting produce into some of these neighborhood groceries, these corner stores, maybe some liquor stores, some of these stores, if that's the only store in your neighborhood, making sure there's fresh produce in there. And she's also doing specific ones for seniors now. She piloted, since she started Mayor Sheffield, bringing produce to some of these senior buildings that she's trying to get up to code. She's getting senior advocates to talk to the seniors. And then, now she's bringing produce. So, I think she's definitely trying to get people their fruits and vegetables. And she said that she anticipates 5 more grocery stores opening this year.
Yeah, and I think that's...
Pause.
Okay.
We got somebody vacuuming in the back.
Sorry, I kept talking.
No, it's okay. We'll just edit it there.
Okay, great.
Go back.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to put this under the veneer of the fact that the city and most cities in America are not going to be getting much from the federal government, not for the foreseeable future. And so, there was comments, whether it be in our chat or comments that we said amongst ourselves, it was like, these numbers are not the large, bombastic numbers that really the city of Detroit needs in order to reach sort of this full revitalization status. But you're not going to get any help from D.C. And I think it's really important that these are achievable goals. And I think that is sort of the calculus here because a lot of these goals, like we said, 1,000 single family home units over the next 4 years, that doesn't sound like a lot, but you kind of got to aim around there somewhere because the federal grant programs have been cut back. You're not going to get the federal home assistance programs. You're not going to get the federal job training programs that you got in administrations previous. And so this is going to be a really important thing that regions and cities can try their best to do this by themselves, which I think was emblematic by all the county executives of Metro Detroit being present in the room as well.
Yes. Why don't we kind of land on what was missing and who was there? So one thing, who was there?
We saw Mayor Mike Duggan. We saw some other county executives. There were a lot of media there. Jamel Hill was there because the auditorium was named after her. So a lot of people, honestly.
Yeah, Carmen Harlan was there.
Oh, yeah.
Carmen Harlan was also wonderful to work with, by the way.
She seems like a nice
wonderful lady. I believe, they mentioned about stuff with Stephen Ross.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of heavy hitters in there. I think it's interesting that although he was there, Mike Duggan was not included in the speech.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, I have my theories as to why, but
well, you're not a reporter, so what are your theories?
Yeah, I think my theory is, you want to focus on this administration specifically, right? Mike Duggan is running as an independent. Before we get too deep into the politics, there are politics. So him running as an independent, I think, has made the endorsement game a little bit complicated, even though he did endorse her for mayor of Detroit. I also think it was really important for him to no longer be a part of Detroit's story. I think it's really important for her administration to be its own thing, to be its own administration, and to focus on the work that they are doing, as opposed to this is just a continuation of Mike Duggan's work.
I don't know if I missed it in my notes, Briana, but I didn't notice much or anything about immigration.
Yeah, there wasn't in this presentation, and it's notable, I would say. I went yesterday, it's budget season also on top of this, so they've been very busy, but during the budget season, yesterday, it was the public comment where people could just comment and come before city council. And there was a pretty organized movement that was asking for $1 million in legal defense for people facing deportation, $750,000 for families who are, someone in their family has been deported, and more resources for people who are facing immigration. So I think it was notable that she didn't say anything about it. I think... yeah, it was a choice.
it was a choice. I think it's difficult in this situation because obviously there's the politics.
Yep.
But also, when we talk about the city's growth, the city's kind of pinned up some numbers of new residents. The reality is that immigrants are underpinning that growth across the nation. And if any indication with the census data that came out recently about counties and their shrunken growth, and also many cities and metro areas around the country, and American population growth really slowing down with this immigration crackdown, that's going to affect Detroit, right? Like, I think there's this narrative that, downtown is driving all these residents, and it's all these, certain people who mostly look like me, and meaning white, moving to the city. But if you look at the numbers, it's immigrants. And if you look at the people who have stayed in the city the longest, it's the Hispanic community,
yep.
And was the only growing group for a long time. So, I think it's interesting to not talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's a really big elephant in the room in any major metropolitan area right now. So to not hear it is, I think, not necessarily weird, as I said, almost for the same reasons as to why Mike Duggan was not a part of the conversation, almost to say, this is a big thing and it has to be addressed. But it was very clear from the very first moment that the first video ran that this whole speech is going to be about what Mary Sheffield and her administration are doing, nothing else. There's not going to be any national conversations here. There were no national conversations.
That's a great point.
Anything. There was no national conversation about the economy, no national conversation about immigration, no national conversation about participation with D.C. Donald Trump's name was not mentioned not once. I think Gretchen Whitmer's name was mentioned only once. And it was very much so, the energy is, this is the island Detroit.
We're going to do what we can.
And we're going to do what we can. And hopefully Oakland and Macomb County is down with us.
Very interesting. I had not thought about that, but that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Anything before we close, Briana Rice?
No, thanks for having me.
Of course. Our pleasure. Please come back.
Okay, I will.
I really appreciate all of your work and reporting that you do. If people want to follow your work, where can they go?
Outliermedia.org. I will have a budget recap coming on Thursday and a quiz where you can see how much you know about this year's budget. So Thursday.
I love quizzes.
Okay.
Once that's out, we need to have you back on with Steve Watson of Watson and Yates and talk about the budget and all those things that are happening. Because I think that's a really interesting thing. For people who don't know, how long does this budget process last? What does that look like?
So it's been a month now, and April 7th, next week on Tuesday, is when City Council is going to vote to approve the budget or not. And then they will probably approve it. But if they didn't,
just so you know, historically,
yes,
they generally do.
Yes, and if they didn't, they would have another few weeks to do a final veto, or the mayor could also veto the budget if they submitted it back to her. They're allowed to make suggestions. So through this process, people are, I want to move money here, and they're moving it around. So it might be a different document on Tuesday.
And we have a strong mayor system. So one of the key powers that the council has is around the budget.
Yep.
And that's why there's so much communication around it, because in our system, the council really has a lot of strength with like the purse strings and setting that every year.
Oh, yeah. Every single department, all 47, present to the city council, and they listen and they ask questions, and yeah, they make suggestions. So it's a very civic process. You know, people get to give public comment, and you still can. So you should.
Norris Howard, so good to see you.
So good to be here, as always, my friend.
And you know who else is great to be here? All of you listeners to Daily Detroit. We really appreciate you with us now we're coming up on 1,900 episodes of this show.
You've been doing this a long time.
Am I a geriatric millennial in my own show?
Yep.
It's possible.
Yep.
All right. And also thank you so much to our members on Patreon, patreon.com/Daily Detroit. Local media needs local support to survive and thrive. So join us, get stickers, get swag, get a rocks glass, and our undying support, as well as you'll know first about the events that we throw coming up. We've got a bunch more stuff happening. Again, thank you to Outlier Media and Briana for joining us today. We really appreciate you. With that, I am Jer Stays. Thank you so much for listening. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.